Ni hao, aloha, shalom, sambatsano. Welcome everybody to the Critical Music Club dub version, the All Vibes Roundtable for reggae and dancehall, toasters, selectors, scribes, and miscellaneous veteran to meet and talk big tunes. My name is DJ Bo. No stops, no caps, no brags, just facts. Shanghai's number two DJ. And yes, that's right. It's a special edition of the CMC. And as for the album discussions, the 2022 mixtape Far East Empress Reggae, which features Masia One, who was born in Singapore. It was mixed by DJ Irie and features Masia's work from across her career, from a collaboration with Sizzla to a live session in Goya. Please welcome our special guest. I think she's here right now. Yeah, there she is. From the islands to halfway through the city, she's got the split second timing with her warrior's tongue. She's got the Jamaican flavor with the suka suka sauce. She's one way right here, right now. Give it up for Miss Far East Empress, Miss Vodka Power DJing, Shiny Money, Masia One. Give it up for Masia One, everyone.
Woo!
What's up, everybody? And
Yeah,
I'm
there
Masia
you go. So,
One. Thank you very much.
all right, Masia, good to see you. You here? Is DJ Irie here?
Right here, right here. I'm right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome, man. Well,
All right.
welcome. All right. So, how you guys doing? How you doing, Irie?
I'm good. I'm good. First time doing this, so I'm just gonna listen in, give my opinion, and then just check out what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. Irie put together the mixtape for Masia, and Masia, how you doing?
I'm good. Happy Vesak Day, everybody. Celebrating compassion and love, and no better time to talk about reggae music and the vibes, you know? So it's good. It's
All
crazy out
right.
on the streets in Kuala Lumpur right now, but I'm glad to be here.
All right. It's the return of the B girl for real. So,
Mhm.
very, very good. So, Irie, let me ask you a question first, man. How you doing?
Good, brother. Good, brother. How you doing?
Doing good. So you really came through the clutch with this quick mixtape. Did you have like a philosophy for putting this together, or you just kind of rushed it through? What did you do?
It was tough. It was tough because I had to leave some tracks out. You know, a 30-minute quick set. That's tough on any DJ putting a mix, the best of somebody who's got a few albums out. So I just tried to keep the energy going. I tried to nice reggae and then also a little of her dancehall skills, trying to show her different skills within the reggae genre. So really, it was just a lot of like a sculpture, just keep molding it, sculpting it over and over until like, okay, now this can be presented.
Well, thanks, man. I'm sure we'll get to some more questions for you, but let's get on to Masia. Masia, how you doing?
Good, always good. Glad to be here. It's
I know
so
you're
nice.
good.
Like a lot of people in this room, I see your names a lot, and I know that you're making movements happen in China and across Asia. And it's just nice to put faces to the names, you know?
Yeah, and I'm not the first person to say this, but if you want a successful get together, you got to get yourself a Masia. That's a fact. So, my usual rule for the CMCs is we like to really laser focus on the specific album at hand, but this one's a little different because it's a compilation, it's a mixtape. So, I'm going to kind of flatten things out a bit when I quickly interview you before I open it up to the rest of the critics. So, I know you were born in Singapore and you grew up in Canada. I know you first got into hip hop, but what was your very first exposure to reggae or Caribbean music?
Well, actually, growing up, my older brother, listened to reggae music a lot. So everything from Black Uhuru to Toots and the Maytals to a lot of Peter Tosh. Like Peter Tosh was his G, you know. So
Hmm.
I grew up listening to that, and then we're maybe like 4 or 5 years apart. So I was a kid, and then my older brother's walking around going, "Burn down the shit stem," and I was always like, "What the hell is this man talking about?" Because I'm still a kid. And as I grew up, everything that I was kind of the soundtrack of my childhood because of my brother started to make sense as I experienced life and I understood the system and I understood taxes. I understood all of these things. So my first experience really, really is for my brother who has now passed. But before that happened, I remember he took me to a Toots and Maytals concert in Vancouver, Canada. And it was the first time I ever seen Toots Hibbert, and I was like, wow, like this man is incredible. He's older and he's jumping up and down and he has so much energy. And I turned to my brother, I'm like, one day I will share the stage with that man. And he just like patted me on my head, like, sure, sure, little girl, like good luck with that. And somehow I ended up living in Kingston for a while and ended up at the Pegasus Hotel opening for Toots Hibbert and I shared a stage with him. And when I was on stage with him, I passed my cell phone over to him and said, just talk to my brother and tell him I did it. And Toots Hibbert was so gracious and he grabbed the phone, like, yeah, I'm here with your sister Chinese money right now. So it's just a beautiful thing.
That's very beautiful. And when you were in Jamaica, you had a very special job. You had a really interesting work that you were doing. Can you tell everyone what job you were doing while you were in Jamaica?
Well, right before Jamaica, I was working in LA for many years, and LA wasn't really my cup of tea. I mean, I'm sure it's a wonderful creative space, but Hollywood just I don't know, just don't resonate with me. I love New York. So I thought to myself, what is the opposite of Hollywood? And in my head, because of my brother, the way I was raised by my bigger brother, I was like, I think Jamaica is the opposite of Hollywood because them say bun the shits them, right? So first, I went out there with a connection on a friend's mom who was teaching in a ghetto called 3 Mile Cockburn Pen. So I went to Cockburn Pen as a teacher, but I ended up discovering so much talent that I was just teaching the kids how to record themselves and engineer their recordings and that kind of thing. And then after a while, I found myself in Tough Gong, and I had a side job like giving tours in Tough Gong for a little while, and tourists would show up and be like, "You're giving me the tour of Tough Gong." I'm like, "Yeah, you want the tour or not?"
Yeah. If you guys aren't familiar, Tough Gong, that was Peter Tosh's spot,
Bob
that's
Marley's
where a lot of
studio.
major guys. Bob Marley's
Bob,
studio. Yeah, there you go.
and it's still
And
a special place, like Bob's handwriting for No Woman No Cry is still in pencil on the piano there. His suitcases from tours and everything is still kind of thrown to the side in the space. The
mhm,
government don't really treat it like a heritage place to. So it's not like a museum or
mhm.
nothing. It still is actively there.
Cool. So you went from Jamaica, and then one of your next major stops was back to Singapore, where you were from. And like I said, your very earliest tracks, "Return of the B Girl" and stuff, it's very hip hop. But when you got to Singapore, you didn't start like a hip hop posse or a group. You started the Singapore Dub Club. Why did you do that?
I felt that there are two reasons. One, it was already a very established hip hop scene in Singapore, but of course, often in Asia, these musical scenes are very like fashion based, like whatever is trending or happening in the moment. So then I looked around and, any entrepreneur or business person will say, you look for, the demand and you supply it. And for me, the demand in Singapore was for people to relax or to find more time in their lives or have spaces to connect that are more meaningful than getting drunk at a club or get drunk and connect also. So at that
Okay.
time, I really missed the Kingston Dub Club up in the hills in St. Andrews, and um, I was living in Jacks Hill for a while, so I was always going to the Kingston Dub Club up there. So from that time, I was like, you know what, Singapore needs a dub club, and the original kind of roots name for Singapore is Singapura, Lion City. It means city of lion. So I'm like, what could be more reggae than that? So we just started Singapore Dub Club.
Fantastic. And this mixtape was put together really last minute. Did you get a chance to hear the mixtape at all?
I probably heard it once through.
Okay.
But
Well,
you know what? I'm really
Hey,
grateful for it because I've had a lot of people cuss me why I never make a straight reggae album before. But at the same time, when I moved back to Asia, I had a lot of pressure from the way Singapore was. There was a stereotype that reggae is just for like homeless beach boys that is like not Masia, you work with Dr. Dre and all these fancy people. Why you want to do reggae? This is not expensive music and this and that. And so at the time, someone that was managing me in Singapore really didn't want me to do anything reggae. And soon after, I would still do my guest appearances as much as I could. And now I'm at a point like, yeah, why haven't I put together a full reggae record? So this mixtape that Irie put together for me, I was like, oh yeah, I got some tunes.
Well, fantastic. And I've done gigs with Masia all over. I could ask her a million questions, and I'm sure you guys too. Everything from being John Frusciante's favorite rapper and collaborating with Talib Kweli. But let's try to focus in just on this mixtape. And the first person I want to get to is Kyle B. Why don't you ask a question for Miss Masia One?
Yo, so I feel like you're at an interesting place in the market because I think women are very underrepresented in reggae music, and you have a lot of real like feminine power lyrics, and that's a strong theme in your music. Also, I think Asia is relatively underrepresented in reggae music also. So is that like something that you are kind of deliberately working for to like kind of bring this voice out, or is it just kind of something stylistically you've aligned with, or how do you see kind of your place in that?
Oh, this is a soliloquy of a question. I think that because I have a background as a hip hop MC, traditionally the way I approach the music is more yang, like I want to come in there and just rip. So I love when I love toasting style. I love rubber dub sessions. I love more like going in hard sometimes on some dancehall. And so it was only recently that I'm just like, oh, okay, I can sing some Real Lovers Rock and I can do the softer side of things. Traditionally, I want to go in there and just like, all right, let's go. Um, so I think what I appreciate is that I rarely see female artists going in hard like that. Like I came up. Watching Lady Saw come on and just rip everybody. And I was like, yo, Lady Saw bad. And then in Southeast Asia, I will go to, Indonesian ska festivals with 20,000, kids, teenagers skanking to ska. But then you will see that the lineup is like, 60 dudes. Maybe there's like one girl or one token girl in the thing, and then she sings the hook. So for me, I don't want to be the token girl to sing the hook. Like I want to come in with the verse, the chorus, and everything, and just like show you that the sound, you can run the sound still. I see great, toasters that are female out of Spain, out of different places in Europe, but I rarely see it here in Asia. So I think, of course, as an MC, you just want to like come boss and grab the mic and scare the boys a little bit. But the longer run vision is more to raise up other women and realizing how important representation is, and just giving them the confidence and the courage that it's okay. You can come grab the mic and chatter one too.
Fantastic. Albert, what do you got?
Greetings once again, family.
Hey,
Why China,
mommy.
China, China money, Masia. How do I pronounce your name? I'm sorry. I have to
Shiny
say
money will do.
China money. Yo, Wagwan money, Wagwan. Boy, you look good enough. Could I get it tonight? Anyway,
Yes.
True talk
anyway,
Jamaican.
anyway. No, really, the names you called earlier, the people you called earlier, boy, you touch me out. Them place the people don't really understand. You don't understand. If you're there Shanghai, even before the little lockdown they go on, there are not too many places where people can really take in a real dancehall kind of thing. Yeah, I understand. So me not violate the man them like Mr. Robert and other people. Me understand. Me not violate, but like on a Japan with their Shanghai. But here's my question. See, I've been looking at dancehall as a future thing, and me I say, well, Mr. Say you respect Bob Marley, you respect Dennis Brown, you respect the people there, but what do you think about Major Lazer, or the direction musically of where Major Lazer is going with the DJ slash, I don't know, it feels like a lot of tech in there as well. Like I wanted to hear what you thought about their direction of music and perhaps how that involves female artists as well. Like I don't know how you see yourself in relation to Major
I had a
Lazer.
chance to work in LA actually with Diplo, and then Walshy. I got to work with him in New York for a while, and Walshy is a great champion of artists coming up. You see, he always busts the artist,
Yeah, man.
But I feel like Major Lazer was very successful, and please forgive me for being very blunt, but they made
No.
the dance hall safe for college girls, Like
Okay.
if you really go
Okay.
to a street dance, it's the energy is undeniable, but maybe they're scared. Maybe they're scared to go to them places, or the feeling is too ghetto, or the lyrics is too hard.
Yeah.
And Major Lazer kind of softened the thing but the bashment feeling is still there, and it made it digestible for the college girls. It's my opinion.
No, me not. Hold on, there's one more DJ, but me can add one thing real quick. Hold on, real quick, DJ. Sorry,
He runs
one
a
real
tight
quick
ship
thing.
here.
No, so listen, Shonda Paul, then call him Shonda Paul, to make fun of him. Shonda Paul and Shaggy are known to do that, to kind of smoothen the thing so that the girl them thing, you understand? We like the girl them. We love girls. So we want to make sure that the girls feel safe, in the club. So it's good to hear that Major Lazer is doing that, and I hope that not just for women to enter the dancehall setting, but for women to be represented in the dancehall setting. We're hoping that to see more of you is what I'm trying to say. We want to see more people like you.
I think a lot of time some people ask me, like, how come I like dancehall music when it seems like it could be sexist, like body in your pom pom. Like, Masia, I thought you were a feminist. But it's just this. I come from Singapore, which is a very conservative culture. And suddenly I ended up on an island where, there's such an honesty, a raw honesty about the things. So, someone have a red shirt, you say, yo, red shirt, or yo, lazy eye, it's just a very flat and honest type of expression. And when you go to the dance hall, maybe in the daytime, the dance hall was some broke up parking lot. And at night, it is like the fanciest, most spectacular, glamorous dance and space you could ever imagine. And for me, that's the magic, like from nothing to something. That's the magic of dancehall. So coming from a very conservative background, and then seeing artists and women that can come on and be like, pat your pretty pom pom. It's like, yo, what? You're allowed to do that's wicked, and be that raw and be that real about your lyrics. So yes, as much as I love Major Lazer's production, sometimes I miss when you're just, the words are scandalous and they don't business, and they're not worried and not apologetic about it. And that is really the fire of the music.
Well, let's kind of laser in on one of the songs from here. You talked about Shiny Paul, and before you mentioned Toots. Let's talk about one of the collaborations on the mixtape. I'm going to play a song, and then why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Here is a song with you and Sizzla. It's called Freedom Fighter.
I stand in these moments of time, stolen my shine. Coded money messages, sell soul for a dime. They hold to a lie, now approaching my prime. They ain't never seen a lion with a voice big as mine. Inspire inside, all the pride left behind. Unnatural, they promise, leave alone, Jah design. Vision is a weapon to grow stronger with time. Pour out a little liquor for those lost and still blind.
So much for the country, yet you're fighting $1 billion industry. Reggae music, feed the people are hungry. Freedom fighters.
So that's the song Freedom Fighter, or just listed some places at Freedom. Can you talk a little bit about that song, and what was it like to work with Sizzla?
Dada, it was amazing to work. I mean, as a fan of reggae, to meet and work with Sizzla Kalonji was great. I met this producer named Blacka. And he's like, yeah, I think Dada would like you, man. You just come down and meet him. And so I went down to Judgment Yard. And in the front of Judgment Yard is like a whole heap of rastas, like good rasta, bad rasta, skinny rasta, fat rasta, just a lot of man them at the top of the hill. And they're just there and looking you up and down and sizing you up. And I was like, oh man, what is this place? And then when you're invited in, you go down these steps. And when I met Sizzler, he's very gracious and very kind to me, and we listened to the rhythm. And he released several versions of the song, and so he's like, "Yeah, I like what you do on that." So we recorded. But when I was done, I was trying to leave, and he's like, "No, your vibe is good for me." So he kept insisting that I stay, and he was trying to like tempt me with blunts. And he was like rolling blunt after blunt. He's like, "If I keep rolling blunts, you're gonna stay Chinese money." I was like, "Yeah, I should go, I think." And then he's like, "No, just stay." And he would just sit down next to me and read the Maccabee Bible, and I'd be sitting there like, what am I doing? And then he would just get up, record, like maybe 5 dub plates in a row, and then come back and be like, "All right, Mr. Sizzler, time for me to go. Good night. Thank you so much for your time." He'd be like, "No, China, just stay. Cool, cool." And he tried to like tempt me with more blunts and just make me sit down. But it was a wonderful experience, man.
Well, we got time for one or two more questions, and it's important to note that Irie and Masia, they're not just going to be here for this segment. I think they're going to be staying a little longer, so we'll be able to get some of their other feedback for their critic list as well. Anyone else got a question about the mixtape?
Yeah, Bo.
Yeah, I'll shoot a question.
May, hit me. May's first, and then we'll get to Marcel Black Daniels. But May's first, man.
Okay, so I actually thought it was Masia One. I thought that was your name. I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
I always read it Masia One. So, but
That
anyway,
ain't too
maybe I'm the
bad.
only one.
That ain't too bad still.
Right.
I've got
Asian,
Messiah
Masia.
One, I've got Masha, I've got all kinds, no worries.
Okay.
In Jamaica, they say Miaja.
Okay. Yeah, my question is like, I don't know, do you speak Chinese, and would you consider doing songs in Chinese?
I have done hip hop songs in Chinese, like my Chinese hai hao, like not so great because I grew up in Canada, so I have vocabulary of like an 8-year-old Chinese.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So it's still very simplistic. But I've written raps for Chinese, but not yet reggae. I would love to. I'm working on it.
Right on.
Fantastic. And I just heard a track she just put together with some Indonesian guys with some old languages and stuff, right?
Yeah, we did a track with like almost extinct Javanese languages on a dub rhythm, and it's really, for me, it's at the end of the day, we say roots music. What do we mean? Well, even beyond just the dub rhythm, beyond just what you are saying, but even the languages itself used and exploring what that means, because people come from all over, and Java is like deep roots Indonesia. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. And I gotta say this, when I toured China as a reggae act, because at the time they had banned hip hop for some crazy reason. So they're like, whatever you do not say you're hip hop. I'm like, it's okay, I can do reggae music, so it's cool. I was very surprised, number one, that we actually packed out like live stages everywhere. I brought my live band with me, and we were playing a Wednesday night and be packed out in China. I'm like, this is amazing. And the reception was really great. And dub was well received because my words are slower on dub, like you just hold the same word over and over again, and people try to sing along. And I just had an amazing experience touring China with reggae music.
I take that as an attack, you talking about live music in China, because I vaguely remember that, but it's been a bit, yeah. And I'll just mention very quickly, like I see that as being a major theme of your music, talking about island culture and islands being in the Caribbean or islands being, in the Philippines, right? Or just the idea of bootleg culture of taking different things that might be legitimate, might be not, whether it's in a flea market or, and yard and stuff, and making it new, right?
With bootleg culture, I sold the album together with my stems, like my vocal stems on the album, as well as it came with a branded blank CD so that you could jack my music for somebody. And so at that time, everyone was talking about, oh my God, burning CDs and that kind of thing. And it's like, you're not going to stop it. Music at the end of the day is a spiritual thing. So if you're going to mash it up, then do it properly. So I didn't really want to fight that funk.
Fantastic. And one last question.
I wanted to add to what you said is that there is a lot of like, I would say racist and prejudice viewpoints that come out of often like when, from Singapore, from where I'm from, So for them, there's no relation between Singapore here in Southeast Asia and Jamaica over there. But they don't realize that the so-called founding father colonizer of Singapore, Sir Stanford Raffles, was born in Montego Bay, Jamaica. They don't realize that their founding Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew went to Jamaica because they both got their independence around the same time and worked with Michael Manley to study post-colonial parliament. I think people don't see the connection, and music is there to allow that connection to happen. And most recently, just this week, which is amazing to me, Channel News Asia interviewed me for Singapore Day because they were exploring if Singlish, which is the slang and vernacular in Singapore, could ever be as cool as Jamaican patois. And I thought it was wild for a country like Singapore, as conservative as they are, to do a story about Jamaican patois and comparing it to Singlish. And for me, these are really exciting times to be able to show those connections, to be able to speak on a very mass media level and say like, yo, we're all not that different. We're all island people at the end of the day. So yeah.
Fantastic. And someone else who spent a lot of time in Canada, Mr. Black Daniels, Marcel, you're going to finish us up with this Masia part. Hit me.
Yo, Masia, hey, what's happening?
Bless.
So I'm actually heading out to Singapore next week. So if you have any, in fact, I'm going to go see my lady. I think you know her. I mentioned I was doing this thing. You know Tamara Muna?
Yes, but not well, but yes.
So yes, she says big up. She says what up. So yeah, I just want to know a little bit if you can tell me about where I can go to get good vibes while in Singapore, but also I want to know a little bit about the contrast of performing in Asia, in performing in Singapore versus performing in Malaysia, and what the audience gives you and what they expect from you as an artist.
Gosh, I would say that Singapore is a nice hub, it's like where you go to meet all the brands. So by the time you reach Singapore, you better have your show shiny and cute, is my opinion, So present well, style yourself well. It's like you need to almost get your foot in first by making people believe that you're an artist because you're dressed like an artist and you have the shine and everything. Whereas I feel like touring in Indonesia, in Malaysia's closer to Singapore, but when you go into more kampong areas in Malaysia, like smaller towns in Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam has a huge dub scene, which is really, really cool. I mean, you have a country where 89% is younger than 35 years old. So the people there are just really excited for any kind of new music, and to them, reggae and dub is something new and exciting. And plus, there's a lot of French selectors in Vietnam, so they kind of kick off the thing, Cambodia. I really love performing in Indonesia because I feel like similar vibes to Jamaica. Music is just in your bones. You born and grow with it. Whereas in Singapore, I mean, I grew up to listening to the news and like the Singapore news basically, or CNN or something. So a lot of kids had the same experience. They're not necessarily listening to music all the time like some of the other countries. So I'd say like, they all have their positives. Singapore will really be a brand name. So when the other Southeast Asian countries see, they're like, hey, you performed in Singapore, that feels legit, So you just have to kind of make the tour happen and make them work for one another. And I'll send a list. I'll send a list of the vibes places. We have Selecta P from Singapore in here. He's played a couple Singapore dub clubs as well. He'll have some things to share too, I'm sure.
Okay, I could talk with you about this stuff all day, and I'm getting flooded in with questions, but we got to cut it off. One more quick one I was promised. Milos, ask Masia a question real quick.
Sorry, guys. So, what's up, dear? Just a question from the perspective of your own, not how people perceive you. Do you consider yourself like a rap artist or as a reggae artist? Like I've first time heard of you, unfortunately, just when DJ Bo introduced this whole thing to me, and I went basically through everything that was available online, just to be able to, assess the things. So, like my perception, like when I listened to the mix was one, but then when I listened to everything else that's available, was completely different. So just I want to hear your opinion on that thing, if possible.
I fell in love with music and hip hop culture first and foremost because I found a Public Enemy tape when I was 8 years old in Singapore. So I followed the hip hop situations. And at the time, my cousins and everyone's listening to like Japanese pop or Taiwanese pop, and I'm like, fight the power. So I've just had this like a rebel feeling for a long time. That's what attracted me to hip hop. It's very bold and very honest. But what I found interesting about my kind of trajectory of my career is when I ended up in Jamaica, I started to really learn that at the end of the day, one of the roots of hip hop is toasting, like Jamaican influence and Cool Herc going into hip hop, like the Jamaican background of hip hop music is undeniable. So I found it interesting that I fell in love with hip hop first. Then I moved to Toronto to study architecture. And in Toronto, there's such a big Jamaican diaspora. And that's when I started getting more introduced to the music. And then I ended up in Jamaica. I'm like, oh, yo, this is rap. It's just more melodic rap. But this is where the kind of the roots and the history of it come from. So if you ask me what type of artist I consider myself, maybe I would just feel like I want to just make freedom music, like music that make people feel really brave, music that make you just feel free to do whatever you want to do. And I also think that being an artist in Asia, hip hop is considered a very youth culture. So now that I am a grown ass woman, it's very hard for me to rap about handbags and like it's hard, it's difficult. I write those songs for people sometimes, right? As a ghostwriter. But I personally want to put out the music. I want like with the little guns come on, I wanna bust guns. Like that's what I want to share, And even when I went into Interscope, because Interscope wanted to sign me as the Chinese Nicki Minaj, but they wanted me to do EDM music. They're like, get rid of all this positive vibration, Irie thing. The most important thing for artists now is to share with the people why they should be envious of your lifestyle. Can you write lyrics of why people should be jealous of your life? And at the time I was living in Jamaica, so I was like, oh, I can spear fish and I once caught a barracuda. And they're like, no, not that kind of jealousy. That doesn't relate to people. So I think at the end of the day, it's really realizing that I'm coming into my own now as someone that cares about the words and the messages that I use. And reggae music really resonates a lot more of those messages for me, and hip hop of what hip hop I knew, which was coming into this Native Tongues, Public Enemy, or some of the and the new Kendrick album is dope too. But yeah.
Are you
considering?
Are you considering moving out of Singapore to be rebellious, or you will be the first rebellious person in Singapore ever?
I've already moved out. And I have a Jamaican jerk sauce company because I couldn't get jerk out here. So I have a sauce company called Suka Suka Sauce. And I'm moving to the island of Langkawi soon and just going to set up a studio and a jerk shack.
Okay, then you can be rebellious.
Yeah, there you go. You talked about freedom, Asia. As a wise person said, freedom fades. So it's time for us to move on. For me, DJ Bio, I'm saying Dara Otsi. See you later, everyone.